Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into one of the most foundational stories there is, to really understand its lasting impact on how we think about jealousy, violence, and even mercy.
You know the story of Cain and Abel? It's so much more than just some ancient tale about sibling rivalry, right? It's this incredibly deep dive into human psychology, our choices, and how one bad act can ripple outwards.
So in this explainer, we're going to peel back all the layers of this tragedy. We'll look at the characters, the big conflict, and of course, the fallout, to see what this ancient story can still tell us about ourselves today.
All right, let's jump right in. And to do that, we've got to meet our two main characters. What's so amazing is how subtle the text is. It hints at their destinies from the very second they're named.
So first up is Cain, the firstborn. His name is all about creating and acquiring things. In the original Hebrew, his mother Eve says she has kana, a man, which is a direct pun on Cain's name. It shows her pride, like, I've gotten a man. So right from the get-go, he's set up as this creator, this acquirer.
And then you have his younger brother Abel. And his name, it's a total contrast. Hevel in Hebrew literally means breath or vapor. I mean, talk about tragic foreshadowing, right? It's this beautiful, subtle hint about how brief his life is going to be.
Okay, so this is where the conflict really kicks off. They're offerings to God. Now, the text is clever. It never comes right out and says Cain's offering was bad, but it drops some major hints. Abel, you see, he brings the firstborn and the fat portions. I mean, he's bringing the absolute best, showing he really cared. But Cain's offering, it's just described as fruit of the ground. Kind of makes you think he just grabbed whatever was handy. So the real issue here seems to be about their attitude, not just the gifts themselves.
So, as you can guess, God rejects Cain's offering, and Cain gets, as the text says, very angry. But here's what's so fascinating. Instead of just punishing him, God gives him this incredible warning. It's one of the most powerful metaphors in the entire book where sin itself becomes a character.
Yeah, think about that. God doesn't just smack him down for being angry. Nope. He offers counsel. He asks him, hey, why are you so angry? He's giving Cain a choice, a way out. He's basically saying, you can get a handle on this. You can master this feeling.
And this is where we get that powerful imagery. Sin isn't some vague idea here. Oh no. It's a living, breathing predator that's literally crouching at the door, just waiting for Cain to mess up.
And if you dig into the original Hebrew, it gets even more intense. The word used is ravats, which is the verb for a predator lying in wait, about to pounce. But get this, it's also related to an old Akkadian word, rabitsu, which was a term for a demon that guards doorways. So sin isn't just a predator, it's this demonic force waiting to ambush him. And God's warning is clear, you have to rule over it.
But he doesn't listen. Cain completely ignores the warning. He fails to master that beast at his door, and the story just barrels towards its violent climax. And what happens next shows us just how much worse sin has gotten since his parents' mistake in the garden.
The way it's written is just chillingly brief. Some of the older manuscripts actually add the line, let's go out to the field. So he lures his own brother to a secluded spot, and there he commits the world's very first murder.
And this right here is a perfect illustration of how sin has evolved, how it's gotten darker. Remember when God confronted Adam and Eve? Yeah, they tried to shift the blame, but they at least admitted what they did. But Cain? No way. He hits back with a straight-up defiance lie. And then he throws out that infamous, cynical question, am I my brother's keeper?
So here's the really brilliant part. Cain's punishment fits the crime perfectly. He's a farmer, right? He spilled his brother's blood on the ground. And now, that very same ground is cursed to him. He's totally cut off from his job, his home, and he's doomed to just be a restless wanderer on the earth.
But just when you think the story can't get any darker, there's a twist, an unexpected turn. In this final act, we get a surprising moment of mercy, and we see how this one tragedy creates two totally different legacies.
So when you hear the phrase, the mark of Cain, what do you think of? Most people think of some kind of mark of shame, right? A brand that screams murderer to everyone. But is that really what the text says?
Well, if you look at the source material, it's actually the complete opposite. The mark wasn't a punishment at all. It was a sign of God's protection. Cain is terrified that now that he's in exile, anyone who finds him will kill him. So God puts this mark on him, not as a curse, but as a sign that he's off limits. It's a shocking act of grace right in the middle of all this judgment.
Cain's own legacy, though, is a different story. It's one of escalating violence. Generations down the line, his descendant Lamech is bragging about killing a young man just for hitting him. And he totally twists God's promise of protection for Cain into this arrogant boast about his own 77-fold revenge. The violence is just spiraling.
But that's not where the story ends. It doesn't just fade to black on violence. Adam and Eve have a third son, Seth. And his name in Hebrew, Sheth, means to place or to set. He is the replacement for Abel. He's a new foundation, a new beginning for a line of hope.
And so, this ancient story leaves us with this really provocative, timeless question, doesn't it? It shows us that humanity has inherited both of these legacies. Cain's legacy of escalating violence, and Seth's legacy of hope and a new beginning. The story is basically asking us, even all these thousands of years later, which path are we going to choose?